Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Please rise for the presentation of colors by the Virginia State Parks Honor Guard. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Again, good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Baker, and I am the Director of Virginia State Parks. And it is my great honor to welcome you to the newest addition to your Virginia State Park system. The mission of Virginia State Parks is to conserve the natural, scenic, historic, and cultural resources of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and to provide recreational and educational opportunities consistent with good stewardship of these lands, waters, and facilities that leave them unimpaired for future generations. And while Virginia State Parks have provided these experiences to generations of Virginians, we know that those opportunities were not always afforded to all. During a time when Black Virginians were denied opportunities offered by state parks, the Green Pastures recreational area provided opportunities for them to escape the pressures of the day, engage in healthy physical activity, experience nature, and form bonds with family, friends, and community. And while we reject the racism that led to segregated spaces, it is incumbent upon us to honor the work of the African American community that made the Green Pastures recreation area possible, as well as the familial and community ties and the traditions that have imbued it with a sense of place. Of the community who saw the importance of restoring the area, to Governor Northam, who committed to that vision, to the many partners across our state and federal agencies who charted the course toward the Shared Stewardship Agreement, and the DCR and state park staff who have worked tirelessly to make today possible and will continue that work until the site is fully restored. Today is the result of many labors of love. We at Virginia State Parks are humbled to be the stewards of a place of such significance. It is indeed our great privilege to honor the traditions of those past visitors to Green Pastures and to provide opportunities for those traditions to be reborn for current and future generations. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce the Department of Conservation and Recreation Director, Clyde Cristman.
Thank you very much, Dr. Baker, and you make that uniform look great. So I'm here today to simply say welcome to the Green Pastures. a couple years ago. She's trying to hide in the back there, which you sent to me and asked me to respond to, and I responded by coming out here. I called Joan and said, I need to come see this place after I read Joan's letter. And when I got here, I was just awe-inspired and felt that we needed to do something. And of course, Joan wasn't just bugging me, she was bugging Senator Deeds and Delegate Austin, who of course then turned around and bugged me. So Joan, it was your tenacity and the many members of the community that worked so hard. Thank you. To the Friends of Green Pasture, who have also helped the Forest Service maintain this over the last few years, and Steve Nicely, I don't know, I've seen Steve here today, but particularly want to recognize Steve. I know he spent a lot of time out here, and all of the other volunteers with the Friends group. And by the way, we're going to need your help in the future, continuing to move forward. I want to particularly thank the support, the Allegheny County Board of Supervisors, and all of the local community members who urged us on, as this was a relatively difficult feat to pull off in working with our partners in the federal government. And I want to particularly recognize Job Tim with the U.S. Forest Service, our superintendent of the George Washington Jefferson National Forest. Job has been my partner in crime in pushing this forward to get the lease. And Job and I actually, I guess about 2 months ago now, sat down together and signed the historic lease, 30-year lease on this property. And it was not easy getting there, working with the Attorney General's office and with the U.S. Forest Service's attorney. And Secretary Ring, thank you for those literally weekly conference calls at some point in time that it took us to get over this. And to Julie Langen, our DHR director, Julie's here somewhere, and Julie, all of your advice and counsel, there you are, all of your advice and counsel on moving forward and recognizing the beautiful historic opportunities here. As we were figuring out how we were going to be able to restore this thing, one of the first challenges we realized is that the electric service was going to need to be completely redone, and it was a budget breaker. And I want to tell you, one phone call to Dominion Energy and explaining our plight here and the mission we have. And I don't know if Jim Beamer from Dominion Energy is here. He had RSVP'd, but I haven't seen him. But I want to specifically thank Jim and Dominion Energy, who spent untold resources restoring 400-volt power to this property, which is going to be critical to us restoring water and sewer and the bathhouses and making this place what it can be. And lastly, I want to thank all the Virginia State Park staff, but I want to particularly call out Charlie Connor, the manager of Douthat State Park. When I first brought Charlie and Dave and Nathan, his supervisors, out here, and we looked at this and we talked about this, and they thought I was crazy, Governor. But thanks to you, Governor Northam, for putting the money in the budget, and to the General Assembly for passing that budget that allowed us to hire staff and get some equipment to start the process of bringing this place back to its original glory. In restoring green pastures, we are restoring faith, trust, and hope. And with that, I'd like to welcome the Honorable Ralph S. Northam, Governor of Commonwealth of Virginia.
Thank you, Governor. Appreciate it. Please be seated. Good morning.
Good morning.
Maybe you needed to stand up, move around a little bit to warm up, but I tell you what, for someone from 757 getting into this chilly air is a little bit of a shock this morning. But it's a good morning to all of you, and as Clyde said, thank you all for being here. And it is a beautiful morning. Pam, my wife, and I were here back in May, and we took a tour, and now to come back and see this come to fruition, Clyde, I really thank you for your leadership, and to all of our members. And I see you surrounding Charlie. It's great to see you again that are part of our state parks. You know, we have 41 beautiful state parks in Virginia now, and what a gem all of them are. And I know this last year has been tough on everybody with COVID, and you know, everybody wants to get out and get some fresh air. And so again, I encourage everybody to take care or take advantage of our park systems. I want to say hi to Mayor Marshall. It's great to have you here from Clifton Forge, and two of my friends that have already been recognized, but Senator Cree Deeds, Cree, it's great to see you, and Delegate Terry Austin. Terry, where are you hiding? There you are. I have had the pleasure of being in Richmond and working with some really fine people over the years when I was served in the Senate and then as Lieutenant Governor and now as Governor. And I just tell you, all are blessed to have two great representatives in Cree and Terry, and I consider both of you friends, and thank you for all of your services. And you're going to hear in just a little bit from our Secretary of Agriculture and Forestry. I just wanted to commend Bettina, and we also have Rob here from who is our Forest Director, and the number one and number three industries in Virginia. Agriculture is number one, forestry is number three, and tourism is number two. And so, and all of these are really tied in together that just promote a great quality of life here in Virginia and keep our economy going. So it's just great to be together today as we mark another accomplishment in Virginia's pursuit of historic justice and greater collaboration to protect our natural resources. We are holding this event today because tomorrow is National Public Lands Day, which is the nation's largest single-day volunteer event for public lands. It is a day that we celebrate how important these spaces are for outdoor recreation. That's appropriate because we're here to celebrate the reopening of one of Virginia's public spaces, the Green Pastures Recreation Area in the beautiful George Washington National Forest. And Green Pastures, as was said by Clyde, was built in 1937 by the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC as we refer to it. And from the beginning, it was planned as a segregated African American recreation facility. And I want to remind folks that, and I think, Clyde, you alluded to this, 1937, while it sounds like it was a long time ago, it was not that long ago. And so we have made significant progress since then, but we still have a lot of work to do. It was meant at that time to pair with the 6 Virginia state park sites, including nearby Douthat State Park, opened the year before in 1936. And while those parks weren't racially segregated by law, they were by practice. The NAACP launched a campaign for a recreation area for African Americans, and the Forest Service agreed to host one. This became Green Pastures Recreation Area. And I hope that you all have the opportunity to walk back there, and it's like a walk through history. But Green Pastures was the first and only African American Forest Service recreation site within Virginia, and likely the only of its kind nationwide. It was also one of very few outdoor recreational areas open to African Americans in the central Appalachian region during the 1930s through the 1950s. As a result, it was well used. People would come from all over for cookouts, for church outings, and celebrations with friends and family. In Virginia, we have been working to reckon with the many impacts of the racism that is woven into our complicated past and move past the burden of our history. We're doing that in part by making sure we tell the full and true story of our shared past. We are telling a story based on facts, not myths. It's important to acknowledge past wrongs and the harm done, and whenever possible, we need to address those wrongs. Green Pastures was officially integrated in 1950, and its name changed to Longdale Recreation Area in 1964. In recent years, the area has been closed to the public due to ongoing maintenance and management needs. And again, Clyde, we have talked about this, and it takes a lot of work in maintenance to reopen places like Green Pastures. It also takes resources. And again, I just want to thank this General Assembly for your support of this project. And that is why today I'm pleased to announce that through a partnership with the U.S. Forest Service, Virginia will protect the site's historical significance and share the Green Pastures legacy with a broader audience. In the future, we will operate Green Pastures as an outpost of Douthat State Park, which is just 11 miles away. And this is all possible thanks to a shared stewardship agreement between the Commonwealth and the United States Department of Agriculture. This agreement helps us to work collaboratively on projects like Green Pastures. It also helps us better coordinate responses to increasing ecological challenges and natural resource concerns throughout Virginia. With the agreement, we are establishing an important framework for state and federal agencies as they work toward mutual goals, such as reducing the risk of wildfire, acting against threats to the health of forests and our ecosystems, involving wildlife habitat, and expanding outdoor recreational opportunities. So I want to thank our partners in the U.S. Forest Service and NRCS for helping us make today possible. I would also like to recognize the Virginia Departments of Forestry, Conservation and Recreation, the Wildlife Resources, who are working closely with our federal partners to make our vision of shared stewardship in Virginia truly a reality. The past, as I said earlier, isn't that far away. It touches us today and it affects us tomorrow. We must always embrace a full understanding, not shying away from the ugly or painful parts, so that we can move forward to a much, much better future. So Green Pastures is both a reminder of our painful past and a symbol of our future and the good that we can all accomplish when we work together. So it's a pleasure to be back here. I want to thank everybody. You've heard me say this before, but I talk about children all the time, but it takes a village. And if we're going to move our society and make our world a better place, we've all got to do it together. And it's just so great to see all of these different folks come together and work together to make this come to fruition. And on behalf of the Commonwealth, I want to say thank you to all of you. God bless you and thank you.
Good morning. My name's Bettina Ring, and I'm the Secretary of Agriculture and Forestry. I thank you, Governor, for those inspiring words and your continued support to help make today possible. I would like to give a special thanks again to Clyde Cristman, DCR Director, and to our State Parks Director. Thank you so much for your leadership, and congratulations on Green Pastures. And also to the U.S. Forest Service, Job Tim, who's the supervisor of the G.W. Jefferson National Forest, in being able to work collaboratively to make this reopening possible. As the governor said, it takes a village. It's also nice to have Ken Arney, a longtime colleague and friend, and the regional forester for the Southeast region, who's with us today, who's been a big advocate for shared stewardship and also making today possible. And so all of us working hand in hand get to celebrate many things today. It's nice to see so many public partners, private partners, state partners, local partners working together, along with community leaders, which you heard some of the stories about those that helped make today possible. And individuals that have recreated on these lands, or their family members have recreated on these lands. I really cannot think of a better place to sign the Shared Stewardship Agreement today than Green Pastures. To be able to do both, to celebrate the reopening of this, and to know that we're also going to recognize this as an historic place at the end of the day as the governor departs. So as we look at the reopening of this recreation area, it does, as I mentioned, the governor mentioned, it takes a village, and really appreciate everyone that made this possible. So there are a number of agreements that have to be in place to make this work. And so today we celebrate Shared Stewardship, which is a larger umbrella allowing and creating this framework for us. But then we have the MOUs that we have in place with the U.S. Forest Service. So I want to give a shout out again to the AG's office, Catherine Surface-Burks, and others that have worked on this tirelessly with the attorneys at the U.S. Forest Service to make sure that we're doing this legally, and it's not always easy. And sometimes we pass over those things that really help to make this possible, and we're celebrating and we're having ribbon cutting. So just wanted to mention that again. But today, the signing of the Shared Stewardship Agreement, which takes place at the close of this program, formalizes and strengthens a long-standing relationship that we've had with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We have many stories and many successes, but this will build on those successes. It will deepen our commitment to each other and working across landscapes and taking things to scale, which we need to do more of in the Commonwealth and across the nation, to make sure we're doing all that we can to conserve and protect our waters and our lands, and to make sure that we're doing that not only for current generations, but for future generations. This agreement that we're going to be signing today between the USDA Forest Service, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, the Department of Forestry, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, and the Department of Wildlife Resources sets up a framework to strengthen and deepen that collaboration, but to make sure that we can work across all of the challenges and the opportunities that we have. From an economic standpoint, the governor mentioned number one industry in Virginia is agriculture. Forestry is our third largest industry. Tourism is our second largest industry. And all of this really works hand in hand with all of our federal partners in advancing the programs that we care about, and making sure that we also look at the social issues that we have, so economic, environmental, and our social challenges and opportunities, and to be able to work across public lands and private lands. Most of our land in Virginia, obviously privately owned, but it takes all of us being good land stewards to address these challenges and to turn the challenges into opportunities. We have many examples of where we've turned challenges into opportunities, and one that I was happy to be a part of, and I know that Rob has continued this as State Forester, is the Virginia Interagency Communication Center, or Coordination Center, with the with the U.S. Forest Service and working across other federal agencies. So that helps us make sure that we're continuing. It's based in the headquarters office at the Department of Forestry, but that we're improving coordination and communication when we're addressing suppressing wildfires, but also when we're addressing flooding and ice storms and other natural disasters, even disasters like the pandemic that we weren't expecting, but we've all worked together to address and need to continue to do so moving forward. We also have a joint project in Bland County that we're excited about, that we've been able to address some forest health issues, to reduce some fuels that will help us prevent wildfires in that area. It helps us improve wildlife habitat and again supports our industry. And one that is near and dear to my heart, and I know it's also near and dear to the heart of our regional conservationist, James Tillman Sr., who's with us today. And that is our collaboration with NRCS, with the U.S. Forest Service, with the Department of Forestry, Conservation and Recreation, and Wildlife Resources to restore longleaf pine in Virginia. And this effort has allowed us to bring longleaf pine in the northern range back from the brink. We had 300 mature trees left. All of us working together, now we have over 8,000 acres in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But again, we wouldn't have been able to do that without us all working together. Today, we celebrate our commitment to each other in keeping our forests productive, healthy, and resilient. And resiliency is something that we're spending more and more time on, being more intentional about that, and it's going to take us doing even more to be able to address the resiliency of our forests moving forward. But leveraging our resources to protect and develop healthy, sustainable forest resources, making sure that we're providing wildlife habitat, that we're protecting water quality in this beautiful state of the Commonwealth, including our Chesapeake Bay and that incredible estuary, making sure that we're continuing to provide recreational opportunities for all people. The shared stewardship, that agreement with each other, but the agreement and longstanding relationship we've had for a long time, truly solidifies our legacy of sustainable forest management in the state of Virginia. We've accomplished so much together. I'm confident that we're going to accomplish more together moving forward. And now it's my pleasure to be able to introduce to you our next three speakers. And I think you'll see, again, that these partnerships go from being at the federal level to the state level to our local communities where it all happens. And so I will introduce all three of them now, and then they will each follow one another. But we truly appreciate our Associate Chief of the U.S. Forest Service, Angela Coleman, being with us today, coming down from Washington, and her commitment to our lands. She's been involved with the Forest Service, working with them for over 27 years. And then our regional conservationist for the Southeast, also spending most of his career with the federal government, both of them in various capacities, caring about our lands, and now in leadership positions, helping to advance stewardship across the nation and in the Southeast. And then also Clifton Forge. The Mayor of Clifton Forge, Pam Coleman. We're so happy to have you here to hear your stories and for your leadership. Also working with the Board of Supervisors and local leaders. Again, making sure that we continue to move forward, protecting our lands and waters, but making sure that our public spaces, special places like this place, is available to all people for the long term. So thank you. Let's go.
Good morning. I greet you all on behalf of the U.S. Forest Service, our Chief Randy Moore, who deeply regrets his inability to be here today, but I'm glad to step in on his behalf. I'm grateful to be part of this celebration. It is a convergence of history, a reflection on our past, all of it, and a bridge to our future. We thank Governor Northam and the Commonwealth of Virginia and the many hands that forged a new path for the Green Pastures recreation area. I want to applaud the efforts of the Friends of the Green Pastures volunteers for helping to keep the stories alive. And I want to recognize our retired District Ranger McNichols and the George Washington Jefferson National Forest, who heeded the community's call and the desires of the community to bring partners like the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation to the table to forge this new path. I know how important it is to remember our history. I have been in the role of Associate Chief of the Forest Service all of 30 days officially. I'm the first African American woman to hold that role in our 116-year history. It's special for me today because my career started here on the Jefferson National Forest 31 years ago. And so I recognize that it's not about me. It's about the people who came before me, the people who made great sacrifices on behalf of ensuring everyone had justice and had opportunity. And I know I wouldn't be here without those people fighting to fight racial barriers. So too for Green Pastures. While we celebrate today, this is really about those people who sacrificed before us, who said no to segregation and broke the racial barriers. Our mission in the Forest Service is grounded in connecting people to the land and to one another from every community and from every walk of life. And this shared stewardship agreement builds on that foundation of cooperative work between the Forest Service and the Commonwealth. And in fact, as Bettina said, Virginia holds the Forest Service's oldest partnership agreement. 1935 was when it was signed. So I say today, hello, old friends. The strength of the partnership work was recognized by the award of 2 Joint Chiefs landscape recreation projects. These projects aim to improve forest health and accelerate the work we do to reduce wildfire threats to communities. Today's agreement allows this important work to continue and reaffirms our shared commitment to address natural resource concerns on nearly 250,000 acres of forest lands. I am honored to be part of this celebration. I am honored to be part of this historic moment. Thank you all for what you have done. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Mr. James Tillman, our partner at the Natural Resource Conservation Service.
Good morning to all of you, and thank you so much to Governor Northam for inviting us to join at this special moment, this special historic signing, this place and time. Mayor, the governor reminded me of what my mom and dad talked about. They said often you would travel to places, you would stand on steps where those before you stood and paved the way, and their shadows would never be far from you. Thank you, Governor and Mayor, for continuing to remind me of that. I bring you greetings from our Chief Terry Cosby, who too regrets that he could not be here. But he asked me, Secretary Ring, he asked me to convey to each of you his strong commitment at this very moment, at this very place, and at this point in time. And that what we're doing right here, Director, is so important to the future of the locally led conservation process, and two, across this great state. Let me also recognize a good friend of mine, our state conservationist here in Virginia, Dr. Edward Martinez. Edwin and Dr. Martinez's staff, Secretary Ring, are already fully engaged, Governor, in working together, building collaboration, fully engaged to move this effort forward. You know, the Shared Stewardship Agreement actually formalizes a partnership between USDA and the Commonwealth of Virginia that has been going strong, Director Cristman, for years, and promises to take those efforts to the next level. It allows all of us to conserve our natural resources, protect water quality, ensure biodiversity, and Mayor, leverage funding and help build our capacity right here in Virginia. You know, shared stewardship will strengthen existing collaborations. And when I think of collaborations, Dr. Martinez, I think about Secretary Ring. I think about Director Cristman. I think about us here at this particular moment, at this particular place, doing what we do best, working together, making things happen. Thanks to you, Mr. Governor. You know, Associate Chief, forests are essential to the health of this critical watershed. While the state is now 60% forested, additional reforestation can further reduce pollution, restore ecosystems, and Virginia leads the Southeast region in developing those plans. And those plans we lead because of the Virginia Department of Forestry. So at this moment, I want to thank the Virginia Department of Forestry. And lastly, as Chief Terry Cosby was saying on yesterday, we had a little visit. He said, you know, James, he said, this agreement is tailor-made for the preservation of historically significant properties, like the Green Pastures outdoor recreation area. This very special piece of land highlights the benefit of targeting our combined efforts and our assets, our expertise, to achieve a common goal. In this case, we're talking about preserving a part, as the governor said, a part of our shared past and making it available for the enjoyment of all for generations to come. NRCS is pleased to join our sister agency, the USDA Forest Service, and all of you to renew our commitment to partner and to prioritize our programs based on Mayor, local needs, and do that in every state and every county across the nation. Governor Northam, the Virginia Commonwealth, we look forward to a bright future together. And thanks to each of you for a tremendous partnership.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all so much. Please accept my heartfelt gratitude for all the hard work and dedication that has led us here today to bear witness to what I'm calling a miracle in these mountains. Thank you. Some of my earliest and fondest memories are of coming here. My family, along with many other families, both near and far, would come here on Sundays and on the summer holidays. It was the 60s into the 70s when our car would turn off the main road and begin that loop into the park. Children covered the park, and all you could hear was their laughter. In the late 70s into the 80s, the downturn had begun, disrepair and neglect. The children, now teenagers and young adults, drove here to meet friends, cook out, and swim. In the 90s, the park was being swallowed up by overgrowth and snakes. That and the pungent smell of the stagnant water were a deterrent to many. By the 2000s, the park was all but abandoned due to desertion and federal resources being pulled to fight fires in the West. Only Steve Nicely and his family remained, continuing to volunteer their time and maintenance skills. In 2017, I came back to Green Pastures and heard a voice as one crying in the wilderness, "We have to save this park. This is our history." That's when I, now a retiree, learned that in 1937, the Clifton Forge chapter of the NAACP and the Reverend F.H. Austin, former pastor of First Baptist Church in Clifton Forge, petitioned the federal government for a place for African Americans to recreate, as blacks were not welcome at state parks. The late Dr. Calvin Andre McClinton's clarion call motivated and propelled a very large and diverse group of people into action. Local, state, and federal governments, historians, writers, churches, area schools, Good Samaritans, friends, and the media. We told our stories and shared our love for this beautiful cutout in the Allegheny Highlands. Our voices were heard. Thank you, Governor. And now we stand here, 4 years later, connecting the past with the future. Thank you. We can hope that the love, peace, and unity that we experienced comes back to this place for all of us to share. Come back to Green Pastures. Utilize these resources. Enjoy once again this piece of history and witness this miracle in the mountains for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Marshall, and I can't wait to hear those children's laughter coming from that beach up there again next spring, hopefully. So now, we're going to make it official, and we're going to cut the ribbon to officially reopen Green Pastures, and then we're going to sign the Shared Stewardship Agreement. So if I could ask my fellow brother and sister agency heads to come up, and Delegate Austin to come on up and join with us. Did Senator Deeds?
I think he had to get to another appointment.
He had to leave? It's a little hard to see everybody else under there. If y'all could come on up, and Charlie, I'd like you to come on up here too, and we're gonna cut the ribbon here. Are we all set? All right, Governor, we'll let you lead the countdown.
All right, we'll count from 3. So 3, 2, 1.
Governor, we'll get you and Angela and James to come on over, and the rest of us will stand behind at the table while we sign the agreement. Sure.